This episode of the podcast is brought to you by headbed.com.au. Hey everyone, before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to share something special. In episode 305, I interviewed Catherine Randabell, the inventor of Headbed, a product revolutionizing hair salons, especially for stroke survivors. The Headbed provides excellent neck and head support during hair washes, reducing strain and promoting better blood flow. For stroke survivors, this means lowering the risk of arterial damage and easing concerns about another stroke. It ensures a safe and enjoyable salon experience. Now, I am thrilled to support a product that aligns completely with my mission of stroke prevention and safety. And in our interview, Catherine explained how the headbed ergonomic design prevents neck hyperextension, a common issue increasing stroke risk. With Headbed, you can feel confident and comfortable at the salon knowing your health is prioritized. If you are a stroke survivor or know someone who is, the Headbed is a must-have for your next salon visit. Check out episode 305 for my full interview with Catherine and learn how this product can make a difference. For those in the United States, visit headbedusa.com to get yours today and enjoy peace of mind at the salon. Now, I'd also like to mention my book, The Unexpected Way That a Stroke Became the Best Thing That Happened, 10 Tools for Recovery and Personal Transformation. It features inspiring stories from 10 stroke survivors and offers hope for those on the road to recovery. For more information, visit recoveryafterstroke.com/book or search for my name, Bill Gasiamis, on Amazon. Now, thank you for being here and welcome back to another episode of the Recovery After Stroke podcast. This is episode 311 and my guest today is Faris Raffoul. Faris is a former carpenter who faced a life-changing experience when he suffered a stroke caused by an aneurysm in his carotid artery. In this episode, Faris shares his incredible journey from the first signs of his stroke to his ongoing recovery. We'll dive into the challenges he faced, the importance of recognizing stroke symptoms, and how he has reinvented himself through woodworking. Join us for an inspiring conversation about resilience, determination, and the power of community in stroke recovery. Faris Raffoul, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Good to see you, man.
You too. You too.
Tell me a little bit about what happened to you.
All right. So before I had a stroke, I was chippy. So I was working in
A carpenter. For the people listening who don't know what a chippy is, that's what we do in Australia. We give everything a nickname.
yeah. Yeah. So I was working with two apprentices as well. And in the morning, my eye was at about like 9 or 9:30. My eyes starting to drop a bit, but I didn't know what happened. Like it was really weird. So at the time, my dad was working there as well, and I said to Dad, like, "Oh, Dad, my eye is like dripping a lot, and I don't know what to do." And he said, "You do something about it. Like, go to the doctor, go somewhere. Like, it's not good." So I really didn't think of anything and just kept working because I guess like that's just what you do. And then probably like 1 p.m. my eye was getting better. And I thought, oh, well, that's weird. So I don't know what that was, but that was the first sign of the stroke. But back then, I didn't know what a stroke is. Like, I didn't know what people have a stroke. So that night, my mate Daniel, he went to me, he goes, you want to go camping? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I went home, got my bags, and and then Daniel picked me up, and then we went to a place called Woods Point. It's it's like probably half an hour from Ilden, and we'll go there and like had a few friends up there. I think it was like 15 people, and yeah, it was actually on a Thursday,
Now,
just
before
before.
you continue, Eildon is about 4 hours from Melbourne. Roughly, where do you live? Do you live in Melbourne?
So I in back then I was living in Endeavour Hills.
Okay, so it's quite a long drive for you to get from Endeavour Hills to Eildon.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's like an hour and a half from Endeavour Hills to Woods Support. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all right. So it's decent drive.
yeah,
You've had the weird, strange things happening to the eye during the day.
yeah.
Then it got better, kind of went away. You thought everything was right. Was there any other, now looking back, were there any other symptoms, anything else that you would think maybe I need to do more about this issue, or was there nothing else? It was just all went away.
Nah, from when I was getting better, I was fine. Like I was talking, walking, and doing everything normal do.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't think of anything.
He did also go and see the optometrist that same day after those issues started, who gave him the all good, the all clear.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
So then you're end of the day, you're getting ready and you're going to meet the guys, or you're going to travel on your own to meet the guys in Woods Point?
So me and Daniel went to the campsite about probably 9:30 p.m. And then from there, I got one beer, and then I went to like a fire, and then just talk like to people. Then it was about 10:30. Then my talking was getting worse and worse. And then from that point, I can't remember what happened to me. So my friend Ken, he goes, "It's really weird that you're talking, but it's it's not coming out right." So everyone said, go to bed and wake up in the morning and be fine. So I did. Well, they helped me in my swag, and then from that point, I sleep, but who knows what I'm doing? Like I was out cold.
Mm-hmm.
In the morning, Ken goes to my swag and wake me up, and he can't. It was it was he went to the swag, and I was like awake, but I couldn't talk, and my right side was numb. So he said he straight away called the ambulance, and they said to me, it's because the campsite is too far. It's the best way to drive him to Hillsville. It's probably the best way to do it. So I was in the car, and we went there from Woodside to Hillsville. I think it was like an hour, about an hour and a bit. And it got there, and obviously the hospital can't help me. So they said I can't do anything. So Ken got me back in my car and then drove to Hillsville.
Maroondah.
What?
Maroondah Hospital.
Barunia? Yeah.
Maroondah Hospital, yep.
Yeah. From that point, they put me there, and the same thing, like they can't help me for strokes. So the ambulance drive from, what's the word?
Maroondah to St. Vincent's.
Yeah.
From Maroondah Hospital to St. Vincent's Hospital, because Maroondah Hospital probably didn't have a stroke ward or a stroke
centre.
centre. So they took you to St. Vincent's, which is in the city in Melbourne City, and that's got a stroke facility there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Maroondah intubated him, and then he ended up having clot retrieval at the 26-hour mark at St. Vincent. So it was outside of their guidelines, but they still went for it because they could see that there was some brain activity.
So you had a blood clot.
I had 2 blood blocks.
Clots.
Yeah, one I got they
So he had an aneurysm in his carotid artery that the blood was collecting in, and then shot up into his brain. And so they sewed up his carotid artery, and then they put a coil inside his brain where they found the clot.
Yeah. Hey, Mel, why don't you join us?
If you've had a stroke and you're in recovery, you'll know what a scary and confusing time it can be. You're likely to have a lot of questions going through your mind. Like, how long will it take to recover? Will I actually recover? What things should I avoid in case I make matters worse? Doctors will explain things, but obviously you've never had a stroke before. You probably don't know what questions to ask. If this is you, you may be missing out on doing things that could help speed up your recovery. If you're finding yourself in that situation, stop worrying and head to recoveryafterstroke.com, where you can download a guide that will help you. It's called 7 Questions to Ask Your Doctor About Your Stroke. These 7 questions are the ones Bill wished he'd asked when he was recovering from a stroke. They'll not only help you better understand your condition, they'll help you take a more active role in your recovery. Head to the website now, recoveryafterstroke.com, and download the guide. It's free.
So even though he was not in the time frame for clot retrieval, they still went and did that. And did they give him TPA? What else did they do?
No, so it was 24-hour mark, and it was about midnight or so. They took him down for scans, and then they brought him back up to the ICU, and they said, no, there's nothing we can do. And then the interventional radiologist, he had another look at the scans, and he said, no, actually, I think there might be a little bit of brain activity there. So there is something that we can do. It's very, very high risk, but if we don't do anything, there's a 90% chance he's going to end up in a nursing home. A 60% chance he's going to end up dead. But if we do something, who knows what will happen? Maybe some good will come of it. Right. So the family decided, yeah, let's do it. Let's give it a crack. So they did the clot retrieval. They didn't do TPA because that was outside of the guidelines. And then it was he was in ICU for, I think he was still intubated for about 6 or 7 days, in ICU for 10 days. And it was just a waiting game to see what happened, what kind of recovery he would have.
Mm-hmm. Paris, you have a lot of missing spots. Clearly, there's a lot of information there that you don't have. Do you not have those memories, or is it just difficult bringing them forward?
So it's weird because when I'm talking now, I have to think what I'm talking about before I'm actually talking. And it's actually hard because when I'm talking to other people, I can't, it's too much to me to talk. So don't talk at all.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what I mean? But
so before you talk and think, talking just comes out, whereas now you have to think about what you're going to say, prepare it, and then say it.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Till today, yeah. Obviously now it's a little bit better, but I still got that feeling that I'll have to think about it and then talk.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You were 25 years old at the time. How old are you now?
32.
And when you woke up after you were intubated, after all of the medical stuff was done, the acute stuff, what deficits did you wake up with?
So woke up. I woke up and I couldn't talk. I couldn't walk, and my arm was nothing. So yeah,
So full right-sided hemiplegia plus the aphasia.
Aphasia. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you were in rehab. How long were you in rehab for?
so I was in the Saint Vincent
Yep.
for 3 months. 3 months.
Okay.
Yep. And from there, I went back to Endeavour Hills with my mum, and then rehab there in Dandenong.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
And
it's been.
when you left St. Vincent's after 3 months, were you on your feet yet? Were you talking yet? How far had the recovery progressed?
I don't think I was walking yet, but starting to take a few steps and then sit down. So yeah.
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 Okay. So it's pretty dramatic. Life changed dramatically. You're 25 years old. You're a chippy carpenter. And you went from that, you went from being a carpenter to somebody who was recovering, trying to get your speech back, trying to walk again, etc.
Yeah.
And driving independently, doing all that kind of stuff. Were you able to drive at all after you came out of hospital?
No, so I was not allowed to drive until uh, roughly it's a year and a half, and then finally I can finally drive the car. So yeah, that was a good thing for me
To get
to
it
get
back.
back to driving. So yeah.
Did you have to
Yeah.
sit another test? Did they make you sit through a new test?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So then what about work? Did you manage to get back to work?
No. So I was just working. Like I wasn't working at all. I just rehab like every day, every way, just trying to get my talking and walking better. So yeah, it was thinking about that now. It's yeah, it's full on. It's yeah,
Challenging,
it is. It is.
not being able to work.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Do they know what caused the stroke? As in, I know it was a clot, but why did it occur? Do they have any idea what made that happen?
I'm not sure. Do you know?
The aneurysm.
Oh, tell me about the aneurysm. So there was a clot and there was an aneurysm.
Yeah, so he had an aneurysm in his carotid artery, and then the blood just kind of pooled there, and then eventually shot up. A clot was formed and then shot up.
Okay. So because of the aneurysm bubble, the aneurysm didn't burst. It just changed the blood flow. And as soon as the blood flow has an opportunity to go in a different direction and get stuck in the aneurysm bubble, it created the clot. When it got big enough, it came out of the aneurysm bubble and then it flowed up into the brain.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So then, Mel, do you recall, did they also resolve the aneurysm as well as retrieve the clot?
Yeah, so the aneurysm in his carotid artery, they had to sew up that one, that I think it was the left side. They had to sew that up. So he only has one carotid artery supplying his brain. And then they found a secondary aneurysm in his brain as well, which they've coiled. And then, yeah, they did the clot retrieval to remove the clot.
And they found the second aneurysm in a different location.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Now, that is really interesting to hear that one of his arteries has been, disconnected, I suppose, is the best way to describe it. And that's how cool the brain is, and the body is that because evolution understands that the most important part of us is the brain. Without the brain, nothing works. It has 2 carotid arteries, one on each side, for exactly that reason, to keep the brain going if one of them is out of action, if one of the blood vessels is out of action. So do you notice anything different, Faris, with regards to how it feels when one of the blood vessels is closed? Is it strange? Is it different? Or do you just not know the difference?
I guess now it's that's just what my life is now. So I just got to adapt to what happened. It was hard the first few years, but then I just got to think of the positive sides of life.
Can you feel a difference with no blood vessel? Is what is asking.
No, I can't feel it. No.
Yeah. So it's just normal. You feel normal, as in
I
there's
feel
no
fine.
there's no dizziness, there's no lightheadedness, there's no difference at all.
No, it's all the same. It's all the
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
Wow.
But
That's
I
fascinating.
did get so last week actually I had my wisdom teeth out, and after that I know he said I'm gonna get a headache from that tooth. Now I had a headache for 7 days, and I thought that was another sign of a stroke as well. So I was starting to get a little bit worried about that. So I called Mel and Anita, and I'm just double check is my headache is not going away, and it's still there, but now it's gone. So that's I'm glad to that say. Yeah.
Did you go to the hospital to get them to check it out?
No.
Yeah. I used to go to the hospital all the time. Every time I had a new headache or something strange was happening and I didn't know what it was straight to the hospital. We didn't want to guess. We didn't want to think about it, and we just went to the hospital. And I would say things like, I had a brain hemorrhage and brain surgery 3 or 4 years ago. I know that it's probably nothing to do with it, but I'm not feeling right in my head, and I need you guys to check it out and to confirm that there's nothing wrong in my head. And if you come across the right medical team and it's at the right time of day and there's not too many people around and you're prepared to wait, they take you in, they check you out, they do a brain scan, and then they send you off. And for me, I did that so many times. We just couldn't be at home trying to work out, is this or isn't this another problem? It was just, we had to do it. But I know what you mean. Like when you have 7 days of pain, it's a good, it makes sense that you would go there, that you would think maybe something else is wrong and we need to be aware of it. So did your body feel differently? Did you feel any difference in your body those 7 days, or was it just that headache?
Just that headaches, and that's all. But I was have a Panadol,
Oh, yeah.
and then 10 minutes it was fine. So yeah,
Paracetamol did the trick. So it was literally related directly to that wisdom tooth coming out.
Yeah.
So after you came home, how did your 25-year-old life continue? Were you able to catch up with your mates, see them? Did you guys still connect? What was it like to be at home after 3 months in hospital and then in rehab all the time?
It's a little bit hard because back then I couldn't talk. So mates will come to visit me, and it's just good to see that friends coming and see me. That's the only thing I want at the moment. And yeah,
there was a few that just completely stopped talking to him and started avoiding him, and Faris didn't know why, and he did feel there was a few good friends, but there was a lot of friends that weren't so good and that just became quite avoidant of him.
Yeah, it's confronting. They wouldn't even know how to respond, what to do.
Mm.
And they don't have the skills to communicate or to know how to behave. So they just turn around and they head off and they just don't come back. And it's easier to avoid rather than confront it, because it's really challenging to see anyone have a stroke, but especially a 25-year-old. And then, especially when they can't talk, it's really scary. But it's hard. It's still hard to lose friends like that, to lose people like that. And then you really do learn who your friends are, don't you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when your speaking came back, you speak quite well now. I understand that you have to think about what you're going to say and then say it. But when your speaking came back, what kind of speaking was there? Like, how were you communicating? Was there a lot of words, or did it take you a lot longer to say the words than it does now? How was it?
So I guess when I'm talking, one thing I can't talk is when the words are a little bit big, then I can't say that. So in my mind, I have to talk about that, but around it. So if I've a friend, they don't know what I'm talking about, I sort of talk about something with that word, sort of mean.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to say, but it makes sense.
A similar word that is not the word that you want to say.
Yeah.
But it does still get the message across.
Yeah. Yeah. And these days, like, so I've got a speech, Matt, and I feel it's really hard to find a good speech. Shortages. Yeah. So he gave me the app when I'm texting. So when I'm texting, I can't type at all. So everything is on recording. Record.
Predictive text.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I do is open the app, notes, talk, and then copy and put it in this new app. And this app fix the words. Then from that, I copy that and then send that. So yeah, it's hard at the start, but it works. It's work.
You get used to it. So you say the words, even if they come out wrong, it captures them, and then it translates the words to correct spelling and English, and then you copy that, and then you paste it and you send it across.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
That's
And
cool,
it works.
man.
Yeah.
That's cool. So the aphasia also affects your ability to read and write. Is that what it's done?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I can talk right now pretty good. So I was right side, but now I'm left side.
You had to retrain your hand to the left side.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And your right hand, your arm, does it have any movement? I didn't notice when we met 2 weeks ago, or a week and a bit ago, I didn't pay attention to your hand. Does it have some movement, your arm?
Yeah, so I'm going to see the OT, and I've been there for nearly a year now. And finally, my pinky, it's moving a bit. So that's a good thing. So after like 7 years, it's starting to move a bit. So my pinky and thumb as well.
That is awesome, man.
So that's amazing. Amazing.
7 years of rehab, huh? And then you finally got your pinky and your thumb moving.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So that gives you hope for the next part of the recovery. It's to get the rest of the fingers going a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So I can squeeze, but I can't let go.
Ah.
Yeah.
And is it, is it really difficult to do that kind of rehab? Do you get drained at the end of it? Is it energy draining?
It's full on. So I go to rehab for an hour and a half, and after that, I'm so tired. I just want to go home and like relaxing because yeah.
Yeah, real tough. I can imagine what it was like because I went through learning how to use my left side again, arm, leg, and all that. And we did that in rehab. And I remember going to to do leg exercises, for 10 minutes and then being wiped out for the rest of the day. Can you go longer than you used to? So I know at the beginning it would have been a lot harder to do the rehab. Have you got better? Have you improved your stamina?
I think so. Yep. I think my energy now it's a little bit better, but I do get times when my talking is a little bit like worse, and that sign is like I just want to go home and relax. So, but probably a week, probably one day. So it's not too bad. Yeah.
So most days everything's all right. You go about life as usual, and then every once in a while it catches up with you, and it's a sign, isn't it? It's like go home, rest, do nothing, recover, get better.
Pretty much. I actually I just done a trip alone, and for me to go overseas, that was the big thing, to travel. Um, I don't know. I just went, and it was the best trip ever.
Where did you go?
So I went to India for 3 weeks.
Man,
Yeah.
that's huge. Well done.
Yeah.
And what was the goal of the trip? Was there a goal? Is it just literally just go, or did you have a purpose that was beyond just getting out?
I want to go and see different countries, and I know my mind that I didn't want to go alone, but I just got to push myself to do it. And once I actually do that, it's actually not too bad. Like once you're actually traveling, I know that it's going to be hard. You just got to just push forward, and yeah.
You hang around with Mel, your family, people who know about your situation, right? Your condition. And they know how you speak, they know how to respond to you, they know how to help you. But when you go overseas to the airplane, when you go to the airport, when you go to a new country, they don't know anything about you.
Nothing, and then alone.
Yeah. And what is it like to start to go to a different country and communicate with the challenges that you have with the aphasia, as well as you're in another country? That would have been extremely interesting for you to experience.
It was yeah. When I land in Delhi, I was thinking, oh, so now what? Like, where do I go? What do I do? And thought I was a little bit lost for a second, and I like my phone. It's obviously over the seas, so I can't talk friends and say what I do. So yeah, I just do it, I guess.
Yeah.
It's hard, but once I do it, it's actually not that bad.
How do people deal with the speech that you have, which is thinking and then speaking? It's not what they're used to. So how do they deal with that when you go to an airport where it's busy and they're crazy places? How do people deal with it? Were they okay?
So I guess some people don't talk about strokes. But for me, straight away I said, look, I'm sorry, I had a stroke, so my talking is not the best.
Mm-hmm.
And 90% they're understanding, and they will help me to where I got to go. So yeah, it's pretty good.
So you feel like if you're informing people up front initially, then the conversation can continue, and they don't have to guess what's going on here. They don't have to think that this guy is drunk or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what did you do in India for 3 weeks, man?
So I was start with in Delhi, and then I was alone for 3 days, and I just on Google and what's going on around Delhi. Markets as well. Went to heaps of market, temples, and then from that, Intrepid group. So we went to a few, I think 11 suburbs in north of India.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like we went on the train for overnight, sleep out in the desert as well. And yeah, everyone, yeah, it was good. It was, yeah, time flies when you go holidays, don't you?
Yeah. So you had no plans. Did you have plans before you left, or did you just literally go to India and then run with whatever happened while you were there?
Nah, so Anita, she helped me with my visa, the tickets, where I got to go. So if I got those things sorted, then it's you can work it out that when you're there.
He had the first few days to himself in Delhi, and then he did an Intrepid tour with a group of people and followed that schedule.
The Intrepid tour was planned.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the first 3 days were just unplanned. It was just to be there and hang out there and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What did you learn about yourself while you were there for 3 weeks in Delhi, in a foreign country? Was it the first time you'd gone overseas?
Alone, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Alone, yeah. Life is a bit, I guess, like process, and like I want to make the most of it, I guess. I've always think of the positive life to my life. And yeah.
You learned that you're still capable after your stroke.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. I love that. On the Intrepid tour, how many people were in the tour with you?
There was 22 people.
Were they Aussies?
So in the group, they're from overseas. There's only 2 girls from Melbourne, but the rest were from London, Turkey, Tokyo, US. So yeah, everywhere. Yeah.
That would have been really good, man. I love the sound of that. I love the sound of kind of saying, I'm going to test myself. I'm going to go overseas, somewhere foreign. I don't know anything about it. I'm going to learn. I'm going to put myself in a difficult situation and see what happens. And most of the time, it's going to be a positive outcome. Did you find any negative situations while you were there? Was there anything that was challenging that you didn't like? Did you struggle at all with any of it?
It was actually not too bad. There was one place in Delhi actually We were just about to got on the tram, and it was really busy at the station. And some guy was actually gonna stole my wallet, and I was going down. But because I was with the group, I thought it was just one of the girls or guys like just hit me. But he was getting closer, and then I can feel his hand get in my pocket and get my phone.
Oh my gosh.
And then I straight away turned around and said, "What are you? Who are you?" And then he was just turned around and walked the other way, just like nothing happened.
Huh. So
So
he
that's
was
probably
just trying to pick your pocket.
pretty much, yeah. So I thought I was a little bit scared for that, but apart from that, it was actually good. Yeah. Yeah.
Mel, what are your relationships? What are you guys, how do you guys know each other?
We've been friends for a long time now, since we're about 17 or 18.
Yeah, right. Okay. So you're one of those good friends that hang around.
Yeah.
What's it like to see your friend? Are you guys around the same age?
Yeah.
What's it like to see a friend go through that at 25? And at 25, pardon my language, but if you were like me, you're pretty dumb to the world. Like you don't know what the hell's going on. You're in your own little bubble, and then you've probably never met anyone who's been unwell, especially a young person that's your age. And then all of a sudden, um, somebody that you're friends with has this serious life-threatening situation occur. What's it like for you to experience that?
Yeah, it was pretty full on seeing what he went through, and just not knowing what would come of it. Like if he was doing so well as a carpenter, he had his own business, lots of clients, had all these good reviews. Like he seemed like he was going to go far with his business and his life. And then for that all to just go crashing down, it was pretty difficult to see. But yeah, just the recovery as well was just amazing. Like just seeing what neuroplasticity like can do and how the brain can recover itself. And especially now, like 7 or 8 years after the stroke, he's still recovering, which is just amazing. Like never give up.
Wow. She's a good friend, that one. It's still difficult, huh? It's still emotional. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I know how you feel. All right. I went and did my book launch. Faris was there about 10 days ago. I cried through 90% of the presentation.
Yeah.
It was, and I thought I was beyond that. Like I thought I had moved so far on in my 12 years of recovery. Thought I had got past it. But it seems like everything we do is such a big deal because I thought maybe after 37, the age of 37, I might not be around. And then when I am around and I achieve a milestone like launch a book, it means a heck of a lot, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it makes you, they're happy tears. They're not sad tears. And I can say for you as well, they're happy tears. But there's also a little bit of that thought in the background of the unfair nature of the stroke that occurred and what it took away from Faris, right? Because even though he's achieved so many amazing things, it still took away a lot of things.
Yeah, it has, but he's done so well, and just from never get like there was so many times where he wanted to give up, thought rehab's too hard, I can't do this every day, every day's the same, I just want to go back to work. You know, it's been 3 years now, 5 days a week, I can see how far I've come, but I'm not sure how much further I can go. And this is just too emotionally, physically exhausting for me. And there was like, he wanted to give up so many times, but he didn't. And now his walking is pretty much perfect, unless it's cold. He has a little bit of a limp.
Mhm.
His talking, if you met him in the street and had a conversation with him, you probably wouldn't even notice that he had a stroke. His talking is just not so good if you're, speaking about something that's a bit more complex. And then you might realize, but for the most part, his talking is almost exceptional for, how far he's come. Initially, he was able to say one word, which we can't really say on air.
The F word.
Yes, that was all he could say for weeks. And then his talking, like he would slowly, add a word in every now and then. But I never expected it to get anywhere near the level that it is now. And his arm is not doing so well, but he's learned how to get around that, how to use his non-dominant hand, which is now obviously his dominant hand, but he's learnt different ways around his disability. So, not having an arm sucks, but he's learnt how to get around that, and it's really not a huge deal.
What a amazing thing to witness, wouldn't it be? Like to be in your shoes and witness that level of, I'm not sure what it is. Like at 25, you're unskilled. You don't have guts and determination yet. You don't have wisdom. You don't have the ability to know how to overcome real life challenges because maybe you haven't had them yet, at 25. When he was going through those dark times where he didn't want to keep going, how did you drag him along? How do you convince him to keep going? Was it hard, or did he just really need to whinge about it and then have somebody hold his arm?
No, I just pretty much bullied him.
So, Mel, when I was living here for a year and a half, something, and after I go to rehab, I come home and I go to the garage, and because I love working with timber, I make like plant box, and I do that and then put it on Facebook, and then someone buy it. I'm thinking, oh, sweet, that's pretty good. So I do it again, and then do it again, and then I went made a bed for children, put on Facebook. It was sold in 5 minutes. So I was like, you know what, that's pretty good. So I did again and did again, and I'm still doing that.
Awesome, man. So you found a way to continue to be productive, not as a chippy building houses, but using timber and your skills that you learned as an apprentice and then as a carpenter to make beds and to make little bits of furniture and stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah. So every Monday and Friday, I go to the factory, make a bed, and then deliver it. So I feel like I'm doing something.
Yes,
like
man.
to help other people as well. So yeah,
That's great. That's awesome because now you've got a purpose. You've got work to do. It might not be to the same level or extent that you were doing it before, probably less hours, all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that you starting with a raw product.
Yep.
You're banging it together, you're cutting it, and then you end up with a product, and it's good enough that people want to buy it.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You reinvented yourself.
Pretty much, yeah. And I also go hiking with a group as well. So every 2 weeks, we go to different places, and we go hiking for like 5 hours, and then after that, we went to the pub, and then go home. So it's good to talk to other people. Yeah, I like that.
And be involved with people who have similar interests, and then also be involved in your community. It really helps and makes a big difference in recovery when you've got people around you that well, who cares what they're like? I mean, they're just people around you when you're getting involved with people and behaving like you're a member of the community.
Yeah, just want to live my life.
That's it. That's it. Mel, you wouldn't have known anything about stroke when all this stuff happened. You seem to know a lot about it now, neuroplasticity and the rest of it. Has it become a bit of a passion of yours to understand it so you can be like, yeah, tell me about that? Because even my friends who know what happened to me, they're not really that interested in what stroke's about. Tell me about
Mhm.
what you do. How come you've become so interested in it?
I'm actually a paramedic, so I knew a little bit about it beforehand.
All right. Good on you, Mel.
Thanks.
Okay, so you deal with that set all the time.
Yeah, so yeah, I was a little bit when I found out. So, like Faris said, he had these symptoms, and then he went to the optometrist, went out camping with his friends that night. He'd had, I think he said 1 or 2 beers or something, which didn't really explain, why he was having all these speech issues. And then they called me the next day and told me the story. I think I was quite upset, quite annoyed. I thought it was pretty kind of borderline, like obvious what was going on. And I thought it was just more or less basic knowledge, what the signs of stroke were. And I was just like, he was with so many people, and I thought at least one of them should have been able to recognize what was actually going on. Like, there's so many ambulances have, signs on the side of them. Sometimes there's so many, marketing things that are on TV, like explaining the signs of stroke, what to look out for. I just kind of expected that somebody would pick up that, maybe after two beers, you shouldn't be speaking with jumbled language and, be unable to be understood.
You see, Mel, what I did was I put you in the category of all those other people that don't know anything about stroke, because we don't. No one's got a clue. And that's the thing, right? Maybe there is a little bit more awareness these days, maybe a little bit, but most blokes at 25 are playing footy. They're doing an apprenticeship of some sort, going forward driving, whatever they do. The last thing on their mind is stroke, right? And majority of the people are like that. Majority of the people are like that. And I clearly, because I wasn't expecting you on this podcast, and I'm so glad that you're here. I didn't look into your background, and I just assumed that you were a regular Joe Blow kind of person, and that you were as ignorant about stroke as the rest of the community. And that's the reality. And most guys are not thinking their friend is having a stroke at 25. There's no chance they're thinking that. If he is drunk and feeling a little bit upset, the best thing they could do is put him to bed so that their night doesn't get spoiled, so that they can continue to drink and party and do stupid things. And they wouldn't have had a clue that it was that serious. And some of them probably even felt guilty afterwards, I would say, when they found out how serious it was and they put him to bed. Did anyone give you any feedback about that night and how they felt about it? And were they apologetic? How did that go? Not that they should have been. I don't think they should have been, but
So it's not really like if that group, I'm just talking to two guys in the group, and like I guess like they help me if I need help, and that's all I can say. Like that's all I want. Like if I need help or I can't do it, they can help me do that. So
and
yeah,
on the day, even though they made the decision to put you to sleep, they still helped you in the morning. They still got you to the hospital, and
yeah.
they did
And then
everything they
went
could
back
do.
camping afterwards.
And then went back
Yeah,
camping.
they went back camping, and then a few days later, they decided to visit him at the hospital.
Oh, that's a bit insane.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, Mel. That's the thing, right?
Wow, he was clearly quite unwell, and then yeah, they thought it was appropriate to go back camping.
Yeah. That is a bit weird, I have to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a paramedic, you would see a lot of cases. How often do you see young people who are having strokes?
In the 7.5 years I've been in Ambo, I don't think I've seen none that immediately come to mind. I don't think I've seen a young person.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's the thing, right? It's an old person's illness.
Mm.
Yeah. Everything went well in the end. Everything kind of seems to have worked itself out and went pretty well. If you weren't so far away, maybe you would have been closer to a hospital. You would have been around other people who took different type of action, maybe. But you can't change the past. You can't do anything about that. All you can do is what you're doing now and go about life as normal and be a member of your community and make sure that you're productive by building some stuff. Is it hard to do woodworking with one arm?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's a few client asked me like, oh, you had a like, what's wrong with your arm and stuff? I'm like, oh, I had a stroke, and like, oh, wow. So do you make this bed? I'm like, yeah. I guess it's hard to start, but there's always working around. So yeah, there's always a way to do it, and the way I do it is just it works.
There's a common theme that you keep saying is there's always a workaround. There's a workaround for the language. There's a
Yeah,
workaround for your hand. There's a workaround for woodworking. There's always a workaround. You just got to be creative by the sound of things.
yeah. So I've done like decking for like Mel's, my brother's, Warren's house. Like I'm still doing work. It's just not the same. But the product with its finish it's fine. It looks really good.
Top notch.
So there's my brain. I'm still thinking that it's just different, I guess. But it works. It works.
And with woodworking, there's probably a lot of tools you can use, clamps and a lot of different ways to support a piece of timber when you're using it. Did you say you go to a factory to build those things? So there's other people around?
No, just me. Just me. I get a labourer once every Monday, just sand the timber, and I've got like saw on the table, sander, so it's all set up. So yeah,
He basically does everything with his left hand, and he's able to use his right hand to hold the timber.
Oh, okay. So the right hand is still useful. It can actually still position the timber in a way that you can cut it safely.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good work, man. I love the sound of that. That's so good. Do you have an Instagram and a YouTube and a Facebook page? Do you have all of that?
Yep. Yep. So it's Little Houses and Co. Okay. So if you want to look on that,
we'll put the links.
Yeah.
He's also he's recently started his own Instagram, kind of like as a stroke awareness, stroke information kind of page for other stroke survivors. And it's about how he does things without a right hand.
Okay, so it's
kind of like shows his way around.
It's informative.
Yes.
I think I'm following you, Faris. I'm just going to have a look. Let's see. No, I'm not. All right. No, that's not. That's a different Faris Raffoul. All right. We'll connect. I'll check it out and we'll share it. And we'll let people know that you can that you've got some tips and tricks how to use how to support yourself with one arm, and then how you use your right arm to do woodworking and stuff like that. That'd be brilliant. Tell me, what has stroke taught you, Raffoul? Faris.
I guess life is so precious for me, and I just think everything people do, I just feel like we do things the right way. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard.
That's okay.
Yeah.
What was the hardest thing about stroke for you?
For it's just getting better. Probably I just want to get better. And
just losing your identity as a carpenter, I think, was the hardest thing for him.
Do you agree, Faris?
Yeah.
It seemed like you were really able to sort of hang out in that world. You loved being a carpenter. You were really good at it, and then it was taken away from you. So trying to reinvent yourself would have been a challenge, but you've got there. How long did it take you before you started doing these woodwork projects?
So I've been doing that for 5 years. But obviously not full time. Just when I'm not doing anything, then I'll make the beds, I guess. So yeah.
What was it like when you got your first sale?
Well, it's crazy. Like 5 minutes on Facebook and sold. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell other stroke survivors who are listening to this and going through something similar to what you were going through?
I guess it's going to be hard at the start, but you got to just think of the positive way of doing it and don't give up. It will be better. Just takes time and repetitive rehab all the time, and you will see that it will get better. But don't give up. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's the truth. Mel, thank you so much for joining us on this chat. I really appreciate it. And a deep and sincere thank you for the kind of work that you've chosen to do. It's just amazing when I come across medical professionals, paramedics, all that kind of stuff, who put in the amount of time and effort that you guys do. And I know that your profession is, what's the word? It's underappreciated, but we appreciate you, the patients that you guys support every single day. We appreciate you. And I'm just so grateful to everybody who's helped me out, even though I didn't end up in an ambulance. But the medical professionals in Australia, and I'm sure in other countries, they just go far beyond the call of duty to make sure that we're healthy and we're safe and that we get home. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Faris, thanks for being on the podcast, man. Thank you for coming to the book launch. It was a real pleasure to meet you and chat with you that day. Thanks for sharing your story. Congratulations on everything that you're doing. And keep it up, man. I love to hear what things are like in 12 months from now, what's changed, how you've improved, how your other fingers have come on board. You know, let me know. And since you're a local, well, even though you're in Endeavour Hills, I think, are you in Endeavour Hills?
No, so I'm living in Furniture Gully now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Close enough. Even though you're in Furniture Gully, maybe we can still catch up one day and have a coffee or lunch or something.
Sounds good.
Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, all the best.
Well, thanks for joining us on today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed my chat with Faris and you enjoyed listening to him tell us how he has transitioned from carpentry to woodworking. If you are interested in my book about stroke recovery, you can grab a copy on Amazon or by visiting recoveryafterstroke.com/book. To learn more about my guests, including links to their social media, and to download the full interview transcript, head over to recoveryafterstroke.com/episodes. A huge thank you to everyone who has left a review. It means the world to me. Reviews are crucial for podcasts to thrive, and your feedback helps others find this valuable content, making their stroke recovery journey a little easier. If you haven't left a review yet, please consider leaving a 5-star review and a few words about what the show means to you on iTunes and Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment below, like the episode, and subscribe to the show on your preferred platform to get notifications of future episodes. If you are a stroke survivor with a story to share, come and join me on the show. The interviews are unscripted and you do not require any planning. Just be yourself and share your experience to help others in similar situations. If you have a commercial product that supports stroke recovery, you can join me on a sponsored episode of the show. Just visit recoveryafterstroke.com/contact, fill out the form, and I'll get in touch with details about how we can connect via Zoom. Thanks so much for being here and listening. I truly appreciate you. See you on the next episode.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamas. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.